true.
No. Hey, it's 6:52. Guam's favorite. Let's go to the phones here. A voice we haven't heard in a while, but I've been thinking about him because one of his lines is "Not Gus Gus Guam," and we'll bring on Dr. Vince Akimoto. Welcome back, Doc.
Hey, good morning, Chris. How are you
Good
guys?
morning.
Good morning.
It is a beautiful day, and,
It
and
is.
Guam does look clean. I mean, the people have been out and about. It looks like the island is getting ready for the reopening of tourism and just the reopening of living life normally. I don't know if you've noticed, but there has been a lot of work done around the island by, I think, private citizens and also companies that are trying to get ready for the July 1st reopening of tourism, and we're proud of them. I guess there's a big event this weekend being led, I believe, by the Lieutenant Governor, beautify the island. So this is what we had hoped to happen, and now that it's happening, we want to celebrate that.
Right. I know from the beginning, this is what you've been talking about. I mean, aside from, COVID, but you've been talking about how we need to get out there, exercise, and clean up Guam.
So as it
here
happens,
we are.
I think, as it happens, we of course want to make sure that the advice was good, that being outside somehow will protect you against the virus, which I still firmly believe. I think there's something about our community that is protective. We're doing pretty well, and communities around the world that are similar to us are likewise doing well. So this reopening on July 1st to tourists potentially from Japan, Korea, and Taiwan does bring some risks with it, but I think it's also a return to some normalcy that we, I think, need to embrace, because this lockdown is a temporary state that cannot be sustained. But in order for us to open up, I think we have to accept the fact that there are new obligations as a community, one of which would be to make sure that the tourists that come, these visitors, don't bring additional disease. So we learned a painful lesson this past week with regards to the military. It does appear that the 38 or so airmen that came did come with the disease. So there was a failure of screening and then also of contact tracing as they're here and supposedly in quarantine. I mean, again, we can blame them for violating their obligation to stay shelter in place, but there is an obligation by our government and to include public health to make sure that they do follow those orders, because we can't rely, I think, on human nature to always behave. And again, it's not to condone it or to say that it's okay, but these are our guys. They're acting like Americans do, and I think we would probably be accused of doing the same at some point in our lives. So I don't think we nailed them to the wall or say that the military is terrible. In fact, I'll just remind everybody that one of the reasons why Guam, I think, has been in a relatively favorable place is because we do have so much military medicine locally to help us fight this disease if the need arises. I mean, it does seem like right now Guam is one of the best prepared American communities, because we have, I think, a relatively strong local healthcare system, although, again, fragile, very thin, but a very robust, very strong military medicine presence because of the previous presence of the Teddy Roosevelt with its 5,000 personnel, many of whom were infected. And then now with all these, squadrons and different contingencies, detachments that are here as a result of the increased trouble in Asia and in China. So I think the gist of it is that we are in partnership with a very committed military that has a medical presence here that makes us stronger. So I think we need to accept that as a reality.
Right. I don't think it should be an us versus them type of situation. I think that we all should be we are all in this together, and everybody should be following the same rules. And when you're not, then you should be. I'm talking about with the military. Yeah. They should be held accountable if they're not following the same rules.
Amen.
Because
trust me, I'm pretty sure their moms and their family back.
We're going to call your mom, Airman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's the thing. Their moms are probably already knows this, and again, these are American boys and girls, and they don't always follow the rules, but they have people that hold them accountable back home because they still got to go home and answer to why they broke the rules and violated the quarantine, and why exactly were they at those 14 places around the island that they shouldn't have been at. Which, again, you guys did a great job, I think, with public health yesterday, just trying to get to the nitty-gritty of what contact tracing involves. And, I want to celebrate Miss Annette Huggan. I don't think she's used to, being on the radio with you guys. You guys are tough, but she handled that well.
Yeah.
And public health has taken a lot of a beating in terms of, what they've been doing. But I'm going to tell you, they are so stretched, and they have many other jobs besides the ones that they're demonstrating now with COVID-19. So we need to support public health. In fact, we'll put money where our mouth is. I think they're going up in front of the legislature today for the budget. So that today and tomorrow, I think tomorrow's GMH. Everybody should be paying attention to the legislature because that's your money they're about to spend, and commit to the programs that are going to keep us safe and keep us, if we say we want to open up to tourism, we better make sure public health and GMH are funded, and also that they're held accountable to do the things that they're being funded to do, because right now in a state of emergency, it does feel like there's little to no oversight. And again, we believe the governor and her team are trying their best to do what they need to do, but I think there is a reason why the legislature controls the purse strings, and this is going to be an interesting next 48 hours. It looks like I'm running out of time to talk to you guys, but thank you for letting me come on the air. Pay attention to some of the stuff though about Big Brother. I think we need to make sure that we're not giving up all our civil liberties in order to let our economy reopen. So I know it's important for us to reopen, but we need to make sure we're not violating people's civil liberties, and that's a big issue.
Doc, I wanted to just get some clarification on what you said earlier. Did you say that you believe that the military brought COVID here instead of contracting it over here?
Those are two possibilities, right? One is that they picked it up when they went to the bar across the street. But I think there's growing evidence to suggest that they actually brought it in, and they really should have been better watched by the public health, the health officials with the military. So I think the health officials with the military have some degree of, I guess they're going to have to review their policies to make sure this doesn't happen again. But without a doubt, anybody who comes into Guam, that's all, whether they're on the base or off the base, the public health people need to be aware of what's happening. And there's just not enough, I think, people to do that. I mean, I think contact tracing right now has become one of the biggest growth industries in the nation. They're hiring hundreds of thousands of contact tracers in states around the world. Dr. Fauci, who's been criticized for, maybe trying to keep things closed too long, has agreed that if for us to reopen, we need robust, aggressive contact tracing and an army of people, which is why we need to be careful about what these army of people are going to wind up doing, in terms of your civil liberties, your civil rights. They're basically going to be minding your business because they think you might be spreading the disease. And I know a lot of people are concerned about how that's actually going to be implemented. But I think one big thing that this case demonstrates to us, which is great, it's a dress rehearsal, is that you can't trust the military to do the government's job, the local government's job. If they're at the Reef Hotel, that's our business, because the fence didn't move once they came down this way. We need to know what they're doing, because they obviously are here to help our local economy, enjoy our community, and go to the beach. And so, what do you expect them to do? They're going to go outside.
Doc, what do you make though when we didn't get the information from public health about where these airmen went? What you did see was people taking to WhatsApp. I mean, I must have got like 4, 5, 6 different messages. I don't know who they were from, but they said, "Don't go here, don't go there. The airmen were here, the airmen were there." And I know a few of those locations just because, we're covering this story. So I know a few of those were accurate from what we heard. But, I don't know about all the others.
Yeah, and I think, this could become a very interesting game of, who done it. And, it doesn't have to be that way, though. I think people just need to realize that the virus is in the world. Some of it's here on Guam, and people are going to get infected. I'm more interested in people not dying. I don't want them to get really sick. I want them to get through this and be okay, and then be immune on the other side. We have to. The infection has to happen to at least 60 to 70% of our community in order for us to, not care anymore. It needs to become like the common cold of the flu, which still kills a lot of people, but we tolerate it because at least it doesn't overwhelm the hospital. Right. So right now is a dangerous time because we feel like we've done well, and the virus has shown itself to be vulnerable to some of our most draconian measures where everybody locks down. Now we need to figure out what's the right surgical technique to precisely and I guess smartly control the virus and allow people to get infected. So, in fact, these guys going around and doing stuff, that's what the tourists are going to do. What do you think the tourists are going to do? They're going to go to every one of those 14 establishments, deal with all those locals, potentially make them infected, and we just then need to clean up the mess. And I think that's the new normal, among the many new normals. We are going to get infected. People should quit freaking out about that. What they need to freak out about is the fact that every emergency room on Guam is full. And I don't think I'm kidding. I mean, it's hard to get in if you're having a heart attack right now. So what do you think coronavirus is going to do when it hits GMH and it's full? So we need to pay attention to the infrastructure of our island. Unfortunately, the legislature has agreed to host public hearings today and tomorrow on how the money of Guam is going to be spent to protect you after you've gotten infected. Because I hate to tell you guys, but you're going to get infected, and you're going to have to deal with it, and your family's going to get infected, and you're going to have to deal with it. So let's not blame the airmen for doing what's going to happen on July 1st, and supposedly we're going to celebrate it. We're going to bring 10,000 people here a month to come in and infect our island. Happy birthday.
Now who's Dr. Doom?
Yeah.
There
you go.
So, let's make sure the island is clean so everybody will want to go everywhere and anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you're excited about this.
No. I think I'm
yeah, no. What?
Messages. I want it to happen. I just want it to happen my way. No, just kidding. I mean, under control, thoughtfully done. And so if bad things happen, we have to say God's will. There are a lot of improvements that can happen, but a lot of improvements have happened. I mean, I don't want to end this phone call without pointing out that I usually criticize the Guam Memorial Hospital, rightfully so, for a lot of its failures, but it didn't fail us during this pandemic. The GMH buckled but did not break. They made some moves that I don't agree with, but they did what they needed to do. And I'm going to tell you, they showed up to work every day, 24 hours a day. So big applause to them. As they go to their public budget hearing tomorrow, I think they're going to be demonstrating some numbers that are going to just blow people out of the water. I think they want to spend $20 million on a computer system. So, you've got all these asks that the government has. I don't think they get everything they want, but there's no doubt that at least at the Guam Memorial Hospital, the essential workers, and I'm talking about those 800 of you that did show up to work, did a great job. Those other 200 can go back to GBB and start promoting Nagasgas Guam. But we have more than 1,000 employees at GMH, and at least 800 of them did a great job during the pandemic. So big applause to you.
All right, Doc.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Wash your
Doc.
hands.
Grant.
Okay.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
707. Let's keep it on the phones here. They came out with a release yesterday, and we're going to bring on the Republican Party of Guam chair, former Senator Tony Atta, and then after that we'll hear from the Democratic Party chair, the newly elected Democratic Party chair, Sarah Thomas Nettie Dog. So let's go and get Senator Atta now. I understand that you filed for your candidacy, so don't say anything like vote for Tony Atta. We're only talking about Republican Party of Guam business.
Yeah, no, not at all. Hey, good morning, Chris. Good
Morning.
Good morning.
So you guys,
How are you guys doing?
we're doing good. You came out with a release. There was a couple this week, but it's kind of consistent. You guys have been saying during this pandemic, and I believe I'm going to quote a previous release you guys had: "Give credit where credit is